Hey everyone! Welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna be making some bucket hats, and I'm super excited about this because bucket hats are my favorite thing to wear in the summer. It's the only type of hat I really wear in the summertime, and now that it's finally sunny out and it feels like spring, I'm just getting in the mood of finally creating some summer pieces. So we're gonna start off the season, the spring season, and make a bucket hat today. I have already made a pattern, so I'll link it down below so you can go ahead and print it off so you can make one too. But this shouldn't be too difficult. I tried to make one out of this really difficult material last time and it didn't turn out very well. So this time we're gonna start with an easier fabric before we dive into anything too complicated. So for my fabric, I am gonna use this thrifted white denim fabric. I have about half a yard here, so you really don't need much for this bucket hat. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm taking my washable marker and I'm tracing the brim pieces onto my fabric here, and I need to cut out 4 of them just because I'm making 2 bucket hats, one for inside as a liner and then one for the outside. So you don't have to use the same fabric. I just wanted it to be completely one color, so this is why. But this is also a reversible bucket hat, so you could do different fabric for the inside and the outside, but that is why I'm doubling the pattern. So I end up having 2 circles and 4 pieces of the brim of the hat, and then I am also just cutting out the circle with scissors just because it's kind of tricky with one of the rotary colors. And then I'm also trying to save as much fabric as I can, so that is why I'm doing each piece one by one and folding the fabric to try to get as much as I can out of this fabric. And I'm also cutting 4 of the upper pieces of the hat. So now that we have everything cut out, we are going to take our 4 side pieces, like the side of the hat, and we are going to make sure that we pin each one right sides together. So you're going to take 2 of them, pin them right sides together, and we are going to pin these 2 end pieces, so these 2 pieces here. So they look like this, and you're gonna do it for both of them. If you're making a liner for your hat, you would have 4 pieces of these, so you're technically making 2 bucket hats, and then we're putting them together to make one. So you should have 2 like this, and there are gonna be 4 pieces total, 2 for each of them. So after I repeated myself like 4 times there, we can move on to the sewing. So I'm just sewing a straight stitch with a 1/4 seam allowance like so on all the sides, and then I am just ironing the seams open. So now you should have 2 side pieces. I don't even know what they're called, but the side pieces of your bucket hat. You can go ahead, try it on, make sure it fits. Mine fits great, you know, this part. If it doesn't fit, next, what we have to do is we need to now attach the circle part on the bucket hat. This part is a little awkward, but it's not that difficult. So you want to make sure that it's inside out like this, and you want to make sure that this is facing the right sides together. So the good side will just face downwards. So once this is facing downwards, you can go ahead and you can start to clip it and pin it to the top of this hat. It's really weird to kind of pin it like this because it's a circle, but what I do is I just slowly go around the circle and attach them as well as I can. And then you can also add little cuts to also help with it, just because that will open it up a bit and it'll be easier to sew. But I'm just gonna try to pin it first, and then I will add some little snippets after. And then this is what it should look like after you're done clipping it. And then you're gonna do the exact same thing to the other bucket hat. Just making 2 bucket hats. So now we get to sew the side of the bucket hat to the top of the bucket hat. And I am just taking my time here. It fit perfectly, so just take your time. There shouldn't be any bunches of fabric. Like, you shouldn't have to, you know, go over a lump of fabric. It should fit perfectly. So just take your time, adjust it just so it fits nicely. And also, it's 1/4 seam allowance for the whole bucket hat. That's what I allotted for the whole thing. So just remember, 1/4 seam allowance. But once I was done that, I took it to my iron and I made sure I flipped the seam downwards and I ironed it flat downwards because we're gonna be doing a top stitch after. So just make sure the seam inside the hat looks like this, exactly like that. And then I said we're doing a top stitch, so I'm just doing a top stitch here and just doing it quite close to the edge of it just to keep that seam down. And it also just makes it nice and flat and just obviously fits better. So I highly recommend doing a top stitch here. It's really easy. It's not scary, trust me. So now that we have the 2 top pieces of the hat done, we can move on to the rim or the brim. I think it's both, right? So I decided that I want my rim brim, I don't know, to be a little bit more stiffer because I do want it to sit kind of more straight out. I don't want it like flopping in front of my face like this. So I ended up cutting out 2 pieces of interfacing. So I'm gonna iron this onto one of the hats, I think just like the top part of the hat. And then that should be enough to keep it kind of more straight out the bucket hat. You don't really want it too flimsy like a sun hat. So I'm gonna be using this interfacing, and then I also have my 4 pieces of brim. So first I am just gonna iron on to 2 of these pieces, this interfacing. So I am just ironing on the interfacing here. You can also get a sew-in one. There's also really thick ones. There's even lighter ones. There's different color ones. There's like lots of options, but you really just need a basic fusible interfacing here. Like nothing special. You can find this type of interfacing anywhere and they're pretty cheap. So now that I have the interfacing on 2 of them, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put the right sides together, and I'm just gonna pin these sides right here. And I'm gonna do that for both of them so they look like this, and then I'm gonna sew a 1/4 seam allowance on these 2 edges. So next I am just gonna open them up and then iron down these little flaps. I'm gonna do that on both of them. So this is the brim with interfacing, and this is the one without the interfacing. So the interfacing makes a lot of difference. So we're just gonna take a little break from the sewing and have a little snack. That being said, today's video is actually sponsored by True Earth, and they are on a mission to eliminate all single-use plastic, and they just recently launched their new product, and this is a reusable snack bag. And in the snack bag, I actually have some fresh strawberries. So a little bit more about these snack bags. So these snack bags are made from 100% cotton fabric and beeswax. They can be used up to 150 times, and once you have used them up to 150 times, you can just put them in your compost. So you're actually not creating any waste with these snack bags. And the packaging the snack bag comes in also can be 100% recycled, so there's no plastic in here as well. So these snack bags are super easy to use. All you have to do is just close it, push it together a little bit, and your food's not coming out. And there's also 4 different bags in here. You get 2 mediums and you get 2 large ones. So these ones actually open up pretty big, so you can fit, you know, a hefty sandwich in there. So you can put anything in the snack bag. I have strawberries in here, but you can put dry food, fruit, vegetables, really whatever you want. All you have to do is just rinse it and wash it after, and then you're good to go. You can use it again. So you guys know I get hungry a lot, so these will be with me in my car when I'm done thrifting and I'm just starving. Like, these are my go-to now because they create no waste. So regularly you can get 2 medium and 2 large of these snack bags for $29.99. But I actually have a coupon code for you guys. If you guys use Jenna10 at checkout, you guys will actually get 10% off your order. So now we're gonna attach the brim of the hat to the top of the hat. So what I'm doing is I'm pinning both sides and I'm lining up the seam here on both, and then I'm trying to line up the rest of the hat. But I'm noticing with this interfacing, it's making it very stiff. So I went ahead and I cut a whole bunch of these slits just so I'm able to stretch it out a bit, just so it fits nicely on here. So I'm just really opening it up and pinning it so it fits around. Otherwise, you're just not gonna fit. But I pinned the other one and it fits perfectly. It's just the interfacing that's making it a lot smaller. The brim of the hat. Just open it up and then stretch it a bit when you are pinning it. There. I was able to get it to fit, and I just had to really stretch it, and you'll be fine. You just gotta put a couple, I put a lot of slits. You can see there's a ton of them, and then I just really tried to stretch them out like so. Okay, back to the sewing machine. So now we're doing the same thing as we did before when we attached the side to the top of the hat. We're just doing a 1/4 seam allowance straight stitch all the way around for both bucket hats, because remember, we're making 2. One for the liner, one for the outside. And then I am just ironing the bucket hat. Make sure the seam is upwards, not facing the bottom of the hat, but upwards. You'll see in a second, but we're just ironing it flat. You can see there it is. The seam's going upwards because we're gonna do another top stitch to keep that seam there before we put the bucket hats together. Oh yeah, here it is. This is what we're doing. We're doing a top stitch along the bottom of the bucket hat to sew that seam in place, and then it also just gives it more structure. It looks nicer. I prefer a top seam. It's a lot nicer. So now we have to sew these 2 bucket hats together. So what you want to do is you want to fold them inside out. They look like this. And now we want to put the right sides together on the bottom of the brim edge, I don't know. And we're just gonna pin the two seams together so they line up like that. And you're gonna do it again on the opposite side. And then you're just gonna pin around the whole hat. So it should look like this once you're done pinning it. And now we're gonna go to the sewing machine and we're gonna sew all the way around, except we're not gonna completely close it. We wanna leave about 2 to 3 inches just so we can flip it right side out. So now we're finally sewing the both of the bucket hats together, and what I'm doing is I'm just doing the same straight stitch, 1/4, except I'm sewing it almost fully around, but I'm leaving about 3 inches so we can flip it right side after. So now that I have it sewed all the way around, I need to try to fit it through this little hole here. So I'm gonna try my best to try to pull all the fabric through. The goal is to try to make the smallest hole that you possibly can, but still be able to get the hat out. Come on. There we go. It's somewhat of a bucket hat so far. Okay, this still needs a little bit more work. And trust me, it does get a lot better. It just looked terrible there, and I wanted to see how bad it looks. Just in case yours looks like that, it's fine. So I'm just ironing it down flat just so it's a little bit more crisp. And then I'm also tucking in that extra little hole we have there, kind of. Does that make sense? Not really. So here it is. I ironed it all out. It finally looks like a bucket hat now. So our last step is we gotta do some top stitches around the brim of the hat here. This is not closed off. I just pinned it together so I can keep the hole shut while I'm doing all the top stitches here. But I'm first gonna do a top stitch about 1 centimeter from the bottom here, and I'm gonna do it all the way around the brim of the hat. And then I'm gonna go 1 centimeter up, do it around the whole hat, and I'm gonna keep going until I hit the top of the brim here. And then once we're done that, we are done the bucket hat. So this part is the most tedious, but hang with me here. We just gotta finish strong. And yes, it's gonna take a little bit of time. You're gonna have to go slow. You know, it's for all you perfectionists out there. Benson, you're ruining my voiceovers with your nails. Anyways, there's not really anything I need to explain here, except this part right here. I decided that the flap was kind of too big, so I did sew one more stitch really close to the edge just to keep that little opening closed. And then I just went at it. I just put like 1 centimeter apart, and I sewed all the way down to, or not down to the top until it was done. Are you guys ready? Because I'm done. Here it is, the final reveal of my bucket hat. I gotta say, it's a quality bucket hat. I'm very, very impressed with myself that I was able to make such a nice bucket hat. Like, look at this detail. It looks like it was store-bought, and I'm not even joking, and I'm not even just hyping it up. Like, I'm gonna toot my own horn a little bit. It's a really good bucket hat, and I'm really happy about it. I'm definitely gonna be wearing it a lot this summer, even maybe today because it is bright and sunny out. I'm very happy with this hat, and I'm gonna be wearing it a lot. Although I didn't, think about this after. I don't know how smart it was to make a white denim bucket hat because it's just gonna get really dirty really easily. So definitely think I'm gonna have to make more. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial on how to make this bucket hat. And if you do try it out, be sure to tag me on Instagram @JennaPhipps because I want to see what you guys create. But other than that, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video on Sunday. Bye guys.